boys and girls! Another day, another daily read aloud coming at you live from Miss Lawrence's office. Today's story is one that I absolutely adore. It's actually a classic, one that's been around for a very long time. Even my mom knew it when she was little, so you know it's old. My story today is actually by one of my favorite authors too, and it's called Frederick by Lionni. I always love his stories because the way he does his art, I think, is so interesting. It almost looks like collages, like he cut things out and glued and colored and pasted. And so I just think they're so cool. And the great thing about this book, another call to honor. So I think any book that has one of these awards on it is almost guaranteed to make you smile or, you know, strike some emotion in you because they're just wonderful books. And they got those awards for a reason because they are so fantastic. So I'm so excited to read you guys this. There's not a lot to go on when we look at this, right? His name's Frederick. We can assume that's the name of the mouse, but we could be wrong. And we don't really know much about Frederick other than he could be a mouse. And that's about it. So let's jump right into it and see what he's up to. All along the meadow where the cows grazed and the horses ran, there was an old stone wall. In that wall, not far from the barn and the granary, a chatty family of field mice had their home. But the farmers had moved away. The barn was abandoned, which means empty. And the granary stood empty too. And since winter was not far off, the little mice began to gather corn and nuts and wheat and straw. They all worked day and night. All except Frederick. So there's our dude Frederick just kind of hanging out while everybody else is getting to work. Doesn't seem very fair. Frederick, why don't you work? They asked. I do work, said Frederick. I gather sun rays for the cold, dark winter days. Just kind of sunbathing while everybody else is carrying food. And when they saw Frederick sitting there, staring at the meadow, they said, "And now, Frederick?" "I gather colors," answered Frederick simply, "for winter is gray." So they're all moving what looks like nuts or whatever, and Frederick is saying he's gathering colors. I'm not really sure how one can gather colors. Interesting. And once Frederick seemed half asleep, "Are you dreaming, Frederick?" they asked reproachfully. But Frederick said, "Oh no, I'm gathering words, for the winter days are long and many, and we'll run out of things to say." So far, Frederick has gathered colors, he's gathered words, and he's gathered sun rays. I don't know how much help that will be for us in the winter, right? The winter days came, and when the first snow fell, the 5 little field mice took to their hideout in the stones. In the beginning, there was lots to eat and the mice told stories of foolish foxes and silly cats. They were a happy family. So far in the beginning of winter, everything looks good. They've got enough food, they've got fun stories, they seem okay. But little by little, they had nibbled up most of the nuts and berries. The straw was gone, and the corn was only a memory. It was cold in the wall, and no one felt like chatting. Uh-oh. That can't be good. For Frederick and his brothers and sisters. Then they remembered what Frederick said about sun rays and colors and words. What about your supplies, Frederick? They asked. So they remembered that he didn't help to gather all the food, but instead he gathered some other types of things, and maybe that stuff would come in handy now. Close your eyes, said Frederick, as he climbed on a big stone. Now, I send you the rays of the sun. Do you feel how their golden glow? And as Frederick spoke of the sun, the 4 little mice began to feel warmer. What is it, What was it, Frederick's voice? Was it magic? I don't know, but it helps, right? Now they're starting to feel warm instead of cold. And how about the colors, Frederick? They asked anxiously. Close your eyes again, Frederick said. And when he told them of the blue periwinkles, the red poppies and the yellow wheat, and the green leaves of the berry bush, they saw the colors as clearly as if they had painted them in their minds. And the words, Frederick? Frederick cleared his throat, waited a minute, and then, as if from a stage, he said, Who scatters snowflakes? Who melts the ice? Who spoils the weather? Who makes it nice? Who grows the 4-leaf clovers in June? Who dims the daylight? Who lights the moon? 4 little field mice who live in the sky, 4 little field mice like you and I. One in the spring mouse, who turns on the showers. Then comes the summer, who paints in the flowers. The fall mouse is next with walnuts and wheat, and the winter is last with little cold feet. Aren't we lucky the seasons are 4? Think of a year with 1 less or 1 more. When Frederick had finished, they all applauded. But Frederick, they said, you are a poet. Poet's somebody who writes poems. Rhyming doesn't necessarily have to rhyme, but most poems that we know of in kindergarten rhyme. So he's sharing his supplies finally. Frederick blushed, took a bow, and said shyly, I know it. The end. I love this story because it shows that we all have different talents and skills, right? And although it might look like some of us aren't doing what everyone else is, we are. We're doing something in a different way, right? My friend Frederick here, he didn't collect the same things as his brothers and sisters did to help out. Instead, he collected things he thought were more important. When you think about going through a hard time, right? Sometimes someone might give you a piece of cake in hopes it makes you happy. Sometimes they might give you a toy and hope it makes you happy. But sometimes all you need are kind words, or for someone to tell you of something, or remind you of something special to you, right? Like he did with the words, or like he did with the colors. Maybe you just need somebody to make you feel warm, give you a hug, tell you it's okay, right? So I think the story of Frederick's important to me because it tells a story about somebody who thought a little bit outside the box and tried to help his family in a way that maybe they didn't even see that they needed until they actually needed it. So I love this story for that reason, and that brings me to your book challenge. I want you to think of somebody, anybody in your life, in your family, friends, whatever, that's been there for you during some hard times. What did they do to make you feel better? Did they bring you your favorite ice cream? Or did they just simply give you a hug or a Band-Aid and tell you it was going to be okay? All of us need different things to help us through things, especially hardships like they faced, right? The winter was cold and gray, and they were having a rough time. But it turned out they didn't just need food, they also needed some comfort. And that came from our friend Frederick here, our little poet. So I hope you guys enjoyed the story. I can't wait to see what your book challenges turn out to be. And I'll see you on here again tomorrow for another Daily Read Aloud. Bye guys. Enjoy.